Hello peeps, it's a Hillbilly Halfwit here today, and today we're going to be talking about how national parks have invented their own way of selling the carbon credits from underneath the farmers using a new 106 law that will prohibit people from doing anything with the land except what they say. And I'm not making this up. So if you haven't, please comment, rate and subscribe already, because at the moment my subscriber account has just dropped to basically nil, and I think we all know why that is. Also, if you go onto my Facebook account of Hillbilly Halfwit, you can see my shop there and buy a sticker or something, or you can see all my videos, and I share a lot of other stuff there as well. Okay, so let's get going. Now this guy has got no more qualifications than me or you, and I'm not going to mention his name, because when I mention people's names, I guess they put a warning on. He's a proven liar. The anti-nuclear movement to which I once belonged has misled the world about the impacts of radiation on human health. That was an apology in The Guardian. And he's made several apologies about veganism as well, where they made it up, and with Extinction Rebellion, because he's at the top of Extinction Rebellion. He's a protester. He is nothing else. Just a protesting journalist being paid by the civil service, in my opinion, allegedly. Now, this is what he's pushing, and this is what the civil service is pushing. Because after we saw that Tony Blair one I did the other day, we noticed that he said pushing doom is what the service is trying to do to scare everybody. And he doesn't agree with it. So the civil service nudge unit is pushing end of the world is nigh, doom to our children. Now I saw this the other day, and my bullshit monitor went off, and I started to read it, and in a few places here I noticed there's some very, very dodgy stuff being pushed in, is where they invent somebody that decides what we and you can do for the good of us that we didn't want originally. So the first national park to announce major green finance scheme for business sector to accelerate nature recovery. When I look at that, I look at follow the money. Like I tell you, I can't read it all. I'll just read the bits that I underline and things. You can click on it and read the rest of it yourself. It's the whole article here. The South Downs has become the first national park in the UK to open up a formal scheme for voluntary biodiversity gain to the private sector, meaning that firms of any size across England can invest in high ethic, effective nature recovery. It says it's voluntary, but it's only voluntary at the start. From everybody else after, it's mandatory, because they put a law in there. And it's funny how the national parks are getting owned by a lot of these charities, so-called charities like National Trust and stuff now. That's what they call the landowners these days, is the National Trust. The announcement was made today, 23rd of May, as delegates from across the sector gathered at the National Parks headquarters for a summit on ways to accelerate nature recovery through green finance. The voluntary biodiversity credit scheme is the latest among a growing package of green finance measures being offered by the South Downs National Park Authority. Now, this is what these people are saying. So when you know they say this, you know it's a nudge unit, civil service unit pushing this to get what they want, because we know it's not true. We have a real opportunity in the UK to turn the tide on nature depletion, as well as tackle the climate crisis through nature-based solutions. But we've got to act quickly and decisively, with national parks covering almost 10% of England's land mass. Places like the South Downs National Park can and should be the driving force behind nature recovery. In the UK, 41% of species have declined in abundance over the past 40 years, so we're at a pivotal moment. Well, I don't agree with any of that what they've said, but if it is in a decline over the last 40 years, I'm 52, and during the early 90s, we turned over all our management really of the hills to nature people, really, because when I was younger, they stopped the one scheme that had you were paid on the amount of stock and sheep you had, changed it to the area, which was an EU payment, and then they cut half the stock off the area, and from then on, it's basically being run by the conservationists, so they are to blame, in my opinion. Nobody else. There is now a real appetite across the corporate money sector to demonstrate first-class environmental integrity, meet national targets and invest in the planet for future generations. And that's exactly what voluntary biodiversity credits can deliver. National parks have to seize this moment and capitalize on the tremendous opportunity to enable us nature to bounce back. What has happened is after we left the EU, allegedly, because I don't think we've left, lots of these freeloaders lost their ability to go across the EU and make their money. And now what they've decided to do is to try and take the money off agriculture in Wales, especially in Wales, because there was loads of these freeloaders on the money tree there who didn't do anything, getting paid for nothing. And that's what they're at again. They're basically trying to steal landowners' money, which farmers, in my opinion, and create these little schemes, civil service schemes, where they get paid £50,000 to £100,000 each. Now, this is what I thought. Our aim is to work with landowners. Now, landowners can be the landowners which, on the common that I'm part of, is owned by the National Trust. So they are the landowners. It's gobbledygook speak. Our aim is to work with landowners to support them in their aspirations to deliver high-quality, nature-friendly food production on their best farming land and devote their more marginal land to nature where costs associated with it are prohibitive. So basically, like I've been saying for the last 3 months, they want to increase 20% production on lower land and take 20% off the farming community in the hilly areas. That's what's going on. And if you don't believe it, it's coming. It is coming. 3 years ago, the National Park Authority launched this Renature campaign to create 13,000 hectares, over 3 times the size of Portsmouth, of brand new habitat to help nature thrive and ensure 33% of the national park is managed for nature by 2030, while the remaining 67% is nature-friendly. You notice there's nothing there about farming. That is a statement in itself. Nothing about farming. So 33% of the national park is managed by nature by 2030, and the other 67% is nature-friendly. Nothing about farming. I find that bizarre. Business is buying up our common land. Now, this scheme they've made up called Earthly. It's basically a fund where rich people, champagne socialists, are going to make a lot of money. The Voluntary Biodiversity Credit Scheme is the latest step in that ambitious journey and is being launched in partnership with Earthly, a leading UK nature tech company whose team of experts seek to drive investment into high-integrity nature projects around the world. Now, listen to this bit. This is a bit that's scary. A bespoke Section 106 legal agreement will secure land use change from agriculture to nature recovery through an agreement between the landowner and the National Park Authority as Local Planning Authority, LPA. This secures land for renature over the long term and ensures the landowner can sell nature recovery credits to businesses and developers without additional workload or cost. Once secured, Earthly will take on the crucial role of authorizer, ensuring avoidance of greenwashing, double counting or duplications of sales, while SDNPA will be responsible for compliance monitoring. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot to you, but that does to me, because the National Trust owns our hill, so that means they're the landowner, and they can sign a 106 agreement with this lot and sell our carbon credits underneath us. All the farmers up on the Abergwynsin Common and all the other places. Then, because they've signed this agreement, they secured the land for renature over the long term, and it ensures a landowner can sell recovery credits to businesses. Now, once secured, this lot of people called Earthly will then take on the crucial role of an authorizer. Who the hell are they to... Nobody told them that they could. They've created something to take over something and then tell us what we can do. That's what's happened there. Earthly is a civil service-led organisation that has just emerged to stop people deciding what they can do with their own common land and land. Ensuring avoidance of greenwashing. They are actually doing the greenwashing, doing this. Double counting or duplications of sales. So this lot, Earthly, are putting themselves in charge of something that they've invented. Renature credits. This is very, very bad for farming, in my opinion. Very, very bad. The National Park Authority is working with other local planning authorities to ensure they are ready for biodiversity gain. The National Park is working with local government partners to coordinate approaches. The goal is to build an understanding and agreement with all 15 councils that share the National Park boundary to demonstrate how a joined-up approach to nature recovery can also support thriving, prosperous communities. The National Park Authority secures successful nutrient migration schemes through S106 legal agreements on large estates. That's what I read about before. So once this 106 is signed by the council or national park or whatever, the actual person farming the land cannot do anything on it without asking. I do not think people have any idea what's going on. Now, we know this lot is all civil service and nonsense when I hear this. Lorenzo Kersey, the co-founder of Earthly, said, "We are thrilled to announce the launch of pioneering diversity programs, especially considering the critical timing. With the UK already ranking among the most nature-depleted regions globally, initiatives like this are paramount as we strive to meet our ambitious 2030 goals set by government. It is imperative that our efforts are both quantifiable and transparent, guided by the latest scientific announcements." We need to pay them scientists plenty of money, by the way, to get our results we want. Now, I don't like this. We're going to end up losing all our common land to wealthy investors, and they'll just be making money off it. The farmer will be there, won't be able to do anything. About Earthly, Earthly connects businesses to high-quality, nature-based projects. Earthly actually sells carbon credits. That's what Earthly does, and then decides, once people have signed that 106 agreement, what the farmer can do. If he's a tenant, he's had it. If a tenant by the National Park, you've had it. If you're the landowner, which lots of hilly areas aren't, they're just commons. So lots of these commons, especially Abergwynsin Common and things like that, are owned by the National Trust. So once the National Trust sign this, everybody else on it is at it. So I think follow the money. This is not voluntary. When the law is made, this 106 law is made to make everybody else follow it involuntary. Now, after I've said that, I'm going to carry on with this. If you look at this graph, this is a true graph of the average mean temperatures from 1701 to 1999. So before the Industrial Revolution, on the top, summer mean temperatures were 15.5 degrees. And if you look on the right, up at 1999, summer mean temperatures were 15.3 degrees. So they're 0.2 of a degree difference in all that time, before the industrial and after industrial revolution. Somebody is telling lies here, and it's not me. If you look on the bottom one, it's 9.2 degrees at 1701. And on the right-hand side, it's 9.5. That's risen a little bit. And that one was the annual mean. The top one is the summer mean. So summers haven't warmed whatsoever, really. The annual temperature has gone up a bit. So that's gone up from 9.2 to 9.5. So 0.3 of a degree. But nothing. That is not doomsday, is it? Greenhouse gas emissions in the UK. This is from the NFU and DEFRA. 10% agriculture, 15% residential, 17% business, 24% energy supply, and 27% transport. So why are they picking on agriculture all the time? Now, this is from 1970 to 2014 off DEFRA itself. UK nitrogen oxide emissions, 1970 to 2014, have gone from 3 million tonnes down to just above 1 million tonnes in 2014. So that has dropped. Now this is UK PM10s and UK PM2.5 emissions, 1970 to 2014. Source DEFRA. That has dropped like a stone from 550 down to 200, and from 450 down to 150. That is not an emergency. The world is burning less. Climate alarmists keep telling us that the world is increasing on fire. It's not. This is the latest NASA satellite data from 2001 to 2022. Why haven't you seen this? There we go, look. Global burning in 2000 was nearly 2.8%, above 2.8%. 2022, it's down to 2.2%. People are not telling us the true story. Now, this is what was going on. Like I always tell you, net zero is going to get us all like this, especially the Western world, while all these other countries, Pakistan and India will produce more than us in half a year, a quarter of a year, than we produced in the Industrial Revolution when they're going full flow. And from what I understand, China last year increased its production of CO2 more than the UK emits as a total. That's how mad this all is. The 2.7% of urban area produces 36% of the world's emissions. So do you hear that? 2.7% of urban area produces 36% of the world's emissions. The cities and the towns are the problems, not the countryside. The whole of the agriculture used 35% of the land mass, yet is only responsible for 10% of the world's emissions. Tell us again how farming is killing the planet. It is not, and we know that, don't we? So I know this has gone on for a bit, but thank you for watching. Please comment, rate and subscribe. Please subscribe. For some reason, my subscriber count has gone down to 0. And we all know why that is, don't we? So then, if you don't mind, pop on over to Facebook. I'll put a link down below in the description. And my Facebook page is on there with other stuff on as well, okay? And you can leave me a message if you want to then. It's up to you. Okay, ta-da!